Hello, I would like to make an analysis of the short story written by Kate Chopin, and it's called A Respectable Woman. And this is my disposition. First, I'll make a short summary of the main points in the short story, and then I will characterize Mrs. Baroda and Gouvernail, and then I will talk a little bit about themes plus the ending of the short story and what the ending could possibly mean, and then I will make perspectives to another book that also has the same themes as this short story. So this is the summary. This short story was written by Kate Chopin in 1894. And 1894 was this time period of the Victorian age, and in this literary time period, writers focused on the domestic life and family relationships, and a lot of female writers also began to write novels and short stories, and they wrote about stereotypical images of the angel in the house, and they tried to break this image of the angel in the house and instead portray realistic women and how they live their lives. And the angel in the house was this image of a perfect woman who took care of everything in the household, but these women weren't independent. They relied a lot on their husband. And this depiction of realistic women is also one of the main themes and plots in this short story. So yeah, the story is about Mrs. and Mr. Baroda. These are a couple, and they're having a guest called Gouvernail. Gouvernail is Mr. Baroda's old college friend, and he's visiting them during their summertime, and a lot of things take place, especially not an affair, but Mrs. Baroda starts having these feelings towards Gouvernail, but she can't really do anything about it because she needs to maintain her image as a respectable woman. So the story is about this plot, and it takes place in the southern states of America. So now I will characterize Mrs. Baroda. We all know her last name, and this is different from her husband because we know him as Gaston Baroda, which is a sign of the patriarchal society in the Victorian age, where men had the upper hand and they were kind of the leaders in the domestic life. So this could be an indication about this society where Mrs. Baroda couldn't, we don't know her first name because she is only important because of her husband, and this is also a sign of the Victorian age. And she has quite a healthy relationship with her husband. We get to know her as this woman who can speak her mind. She tells her husband that she doesn't like Gouvernail, so she can be honest with him. And this is a sign of a healthy relationship, and this is shown on line 8, where she says, "When is he going, your friend?" she one day asks her husband. "For my part, he tires me frightfully." So she can be honest with her husband, and she is also quite critical towards other people and quite judgmental, especially towards Gouvernail. She has a lot of prejudices before she even meets Gouvernail, so she's quite critical, but it's also possible for her to change her perception of others because she ends up liking Gouvernail a lot. So she ends up being physical attracted to him, so she can change her mind. And this is shown on line 29, where it says, "She wanted to reach out her hand in the darkness and touch him with the sensitive tips of her fingers upon the face or the lips. She wanted to draw close to him and whisper against his cheek. She did not care what, as she might have done if she had not been a respectable woman." So she is very physically attracted to Gouvernail, but she can't be with him because she needs to maintain her image of being a respectable woman. Yeah, and she also lives up to her reputation because she doesn't kiss him even though she wants to. So yeah, Gouvernail is a friend of Mr. Baroda. They knew each other from college, and Mrs. Baroda is attracted to him, but she's also she has this conflict because she's very attracted to him, but she's also quite irritated by him because he doesn't make any effort to get to know her, which is seen on line 7, where it says, "On the contrary, he sat rather mute and receptive before the chatty eagerness to make him feel at home, and in face of Gaston's frank and worthy hospitality. His manner was as courteous toward her as the most exacting women could require, but he made no direct appeal to her approval or even esteem. So he's very distant, and he doesn't like he's non-social, and this is why Mrs. Baroda is kind of confused because she likes him this much, but she doesn't get anything returned by him. Um, and Governor is also quite intellectual because he refers to a poem by Walt Whitman, who was one of the most famous writers in America. And this is shown on line 23, where it says, "Night of south winds, night of the large few stars, still nodding night." So he's quite intellectual and poetic, and this also shows that he's quite different from Mr. Baroda because he values poems and all these literary devices, but Mr. Baroda is on the other hand focusing on his sugar plantation, and he's quite wealthy, so they have different values in life. And yeah, the themes in this short story, one of the main themes is desires versus social norms, because Mrs. Baroda wants to maintain her reputation and her status as a respectable woman, but she also wants to give in to her attraction towards Govanil. So there's this conflict between, should she kiss him and feel this, like, give in to her feelings, or should she care about what society thinks about her, and then like maintain her image. And it's very clear that social norms in that time, in the Victorian age, didn't allow women to be independent, which is why Mrs. Baroda doesn't give in and doesn't kiss him, because she is very affected by the social norms in society in the Victorian age. And this is shown on line 31, where it says, "Mrs. Baroda was greatly tempted that night to tell her husband, who was also her friend, of this folly that has seized her, but she did not yet yield to temptation. Besides being a respectable woman, she was a very sensitive one, and she knew where there are some battles in life which a human being must fight alone." So she knows that she likes him this much, but she chooses not to say anything because she values social norms and what society expects from her more than her own feelings and how to make herself happy. I'll talk about the ending, because the ending is quite a cliffhanger, because we as the readers doesn't get to know what will happen next, because it ends with Mrs. Baroda telling her husband that Govanil can visit them again, and this is said on line 36. "I'm glad, Sherry Amid, to know that you have finally overcome your dislike for him. Truly, he did not deserve it." "Oh," she told him laughingly, after pressing a long, tender kiss upon his lips, "I have overcome everything. You will see. This time I shall be very nice to him." So this could mean two opposite things. It could mean that Mrs. Baroda is she's finally realizing that she needs to give in to her lust and she needs to be an independent woman. So maybe she could leave her husband and be with Govanil. But it could also mean that she this time wants to be respectable towards him, and she has realized that in the Victorian age and in this time period she can't truly be herself, so she needs to maintain her image. So it could mean both things. Maybe she'll be with Govanil, or maybe she'll just maintain her image as an respectable woman, and also the angel in the house. And perspectives, I've chosen to connect this text with the book written by Edward Morgan Foster called A Room with a View. This was written in 1908. And here we get to know the main character, Lucy, who ends her engagement with her fiance because she doesn't feel like she has experienced or reached all these things in her life that she wants to. So she finally chooses to leave her husband, which is quite the opposite of a respectable woman, because Mrs. Baroda doesn't leave her husband. She stays with him. So these two women are very opposite, but they have the same conflict in life. And this story also takes place in Lucy's hotel room, where she doesn't have any view, which could be an example of her restricted life and how she doesn't have any freedom and no independence. And this is also quite same for Mrs. Baroda, because she's also um, a bit like not in a cage, but I think that she doesn't feel like she can reach her goals in life because she will always be affected by her husband, Mr. Baroda. So yeah, these two women have a lot in common, and they both fight for what they believe in, because maybe Mrs. Baroda chooses to fight for what she believes in and then will give in for her love for Govanil. And yeah, they both take place in this time period where it was especially very hard for these two women to finally reach what they want, because society and social norms were very restricted at that time. So yeah, that was what I got from this analysis from an no, A Respectable Woman by Kate Chopin.